Hi, I am Ingvar Johansson, FIDE master from Iceland, and welcome to my coverage of the FIDE Rapid Championship. We are on to round 6. This is the first game of day 2. And after the disastrous start with 0 out of 2, Magnus Carlsen now has 3 wins on the trot, and he has the white pieces against Salgado Lopez from Spain. One of Spain's top players throughout recent history. And again we see Carlsen opening with c4. He did the same against Vladislav in round 4. And then of course we had the round 2 controversy, if you will, with e4, e5, queen to h5. Some mixed feelings about this one. Some people think that okay, it's a viable opening. I don't know. It's it's difficult. It's a difficult subject. Carlsen has admitted he was on tilt, but I mean, you can play this. There's even a video of Miodrag Perunovic on the Chess.pra channel, giving an overview of this move, e4, e5, queen to h5. So let's not completely dismiss it. I do think, however, there are easier ways to surprise your opponent or get a good game. But okay, what is done is done. In this one, Carlsen plays the English, and we have the symmetrical English, one of the most principled ways for black to play, where he simply more or less copies what white is doing and makes white prove that just a small extra tempo is useful. So this is what happens, symmetrical moves, and after knight to f3, black breaks the symmetry with d6. And this is indeed a line I like to play myself, and you've seen countless of times on my channel in my blitz games where I play bishop f5. I do this with white and black, and the idea is simple: play queen d7, put the bishop on h3, and go for checkmate h5, h4. A very effective line in blitz, which I will cover at some point on my channel, give you an overview and ideas. But I think Carlsen plays what is, I mean, it's maybe not considered the best line, but h3 sort of completely blunts this idea of black playing queen here, getting this battery and putting the bishop here. And now black has to sort of switch plans. I mean, nothing wrong with the black position. In some cases the bishop is slightly exposed, but usually we transpose the normal lines. And okay, d3. So we have a symmetrical position, except that white has played h3 and castled, and black has bishop f5. So after castled, it's only bishop f5 versus h3. So which one is better? Rook b1, and Salgado continues to copy, which is a very principled approach by black. After a3, rook b8. After b4, he even just copies. He takes and plays b5. So if white takes, we have a very drawish position. Eventually kind of have to take, but first Carlsen plays e4, taking advantage of this bishop being on f5. And this is more or less the only way for white to create a slight imbalance in the position. Otherwise, you just have a completely symmetrical position. Let's imagine you take on b5, play a move like bishop d2. Black can simply copy and claim that, what is this? Is this so important? So e4, the bishop retreats. Carlsen takes on b5, and now bishop d2. Now, okay, in the line I just showed, white could play e4 in that position, get the same idea going. But now, okay, black has to make a move, and white sort of has, 2 extra moves, e4 and h3. But are they so useful? I'm not so sure. I think actually this is very close to equal. The computer agrees. And here Levon went for knight to e5. Okay, slightly forcing matters. Carlsen took, played king h2, and now Salgado Lopez went for this maneuver, knight to e8, a very standard maneuver in many English lines where the knight is aiming for the juicy at d4 square. So Carlsen begins to plug the square, bishop to e3. We continue with a maneuver, knight to c7, queen to d2, bishop to c6, rook fc1, queen d7, rook a1 going for the open file, and now knight to e6. And it seems like, yeah, Carlsen was waiting for this inevitable move. And now we see his idea, knight to d5. We will now have a trade, and again it looks like a symmetrical position, because as it takes, knight d4, takes. We more or less have a symmetrical position, but white does have a very good stronghold on this c6 square, and a slightly better rook on the a file compared to this one, and yeah, and this one. So just overall, slightly better pieces for white, and this is where Magnus excels, just having slightly better pieces in what looks like a no-shoes or maybe an equal position. So let's see, queen to f4, intending perhaps to play rook to c7. Salgado goes for the trade, queen to f5, and Carlsen accepts. And now a very strong move. Okay, if you give black too much time, he might simply play a move like bishop e5 and bishop d6, and from there you're covering the weakness. You have a nicely placed bishop, you're attacking this one, and everything seems to be covered. But Carlsen plays a very nice pawn sacrifice, maybe an alpha zero leg sacrifice. He plays d6, and once you take, okay, number one, you no longer have this maneuver here, and number two, you open up for this bishop, beautiful square on d5, and the bishop will land there now after rook a7, a rook trade on c8, and now bishop d5. Big attack on f7. So even though we have opposite colored bishops and an extra pawn for black, even though it's, you know, fairly useless, two double pawns, black is in a world of hurt. This pawn is attacked. If you're going to protect it, I can just go for this pawn, and that will have a monster pass pawn, and black has no activity, no counterplay. So Salgado tries to make something happen with f4. Carlsen simply takes, bishop to h6, and now Carlsen just takes on f7. I guess Salgado was banking on some counterplay with rook to c3, but after f5, black simply resigned, and it must have dawned on upon him that, yeah, if you take the pawn going for counterplay, I will play f6, and it turns out that you don't have an adequate defense to simply rook here and rook here, and your king is getting checkmated. So yeah, a very nice win, seemingly, you know, out of thin air, because, you know, for a while it looked like a symmetrical English with not much going on, you know, just a small few extra tempos, but this is what Carlsen does. He is the world champion, and he excels in positions like these with just a little bit of an edge. So perhaps one of the best games by Carlsen so far in this tournament, and he now has 4 out of 6 and within striking distance of the top dogs. So let's see how he does in the next few rounds, and I'll see you there.